Well, this is going to be great. A big, tough, macho guy like me, I'm going to watch the classic Steven Spielberg film E.T. that I just happen to have here. Yeah, can't wait. See how this goes. E.T., I love you. I'll be right here. Ouch! Welcome to Hawkeye's House of Horrors. I'm Hawkeye, and I'm going to bring for you my film review for, in my personal opinion, the greatest science fiction film of 1982. Um, now, I admit it's a little intimidating, just because if you weren't aware, hadn't seen, I think my intro starting off doing these film reviews. Um, there's a bit of a history with me in this particular film. If you know the story, I apologize. I'm going to tell it again. But when I'm going to say I was three, I still remember one of my first memories, in fact. Um, our family went to the theater to see E.T. I seem to remember it being in the fall or something. It was cold out, and people were lined around the block to see this film. And I remember going in to see it. I think the first film I had ever seen in a theater with my mom, dad, and my sister. And I admit I fell asleep. I think in my mom's arms watching E.T. But I remember waking up at the end, I think, and watching E.T. fly home. So there certainly is a history with me in this film, and maybe even really springboarded my love for film. Yeah, I was only 3 years old, but starting from then, to see really how powerful films can become. Now, through the years, I don't know. This was a gigantic film when it came out. I don't know if further generations loved this film as much as, well, people that were alive at the time did. Um, but I still watch it, and I still feel like a kid, and I think it's wonderfully directed by Spielberg, um, who got an Oscar nomination for Best Director with this particular film. Now, so it was directed by Spielberg. He had, at this point, had already done Jaws, which just turned 50, and Raiders of the Lost Ark was his previous film. I love those films. Um, I personally, I would say those films are even better than E.T. in my opinion, but they're all different genres, right? They're all different films. But he had just come off those particular two films there. And the screenplay was done by Melissa Matheson, who had written The Black Stallion. Great film there, 1979, I believe. And she also would go on to write Spielberg's part in the Twilight Zone the following year as well. At the time, Melissa Matheson was, in fact, a girlfriend of Harrison Ford. So her and Spielberg talked about this film while he was making Raiders of the Lost Ark. Later, Ford and Matheson would get married. I believe the following year, if I'm not mistaken. Now, it was distributed by Universal. And at the beginning of the film, there's a cool um, opening as you have the Universal logo, and usually it fades away, but this time the words fade, and then you're kind of zooming out from the world, which is cool because ET comes from outer space. He's not from the Earth. Now, it was released on June the 11th, 1982. And I believe this film still holds the record for the longest theatrical run ever. It was over a year long. Um, and that may be correct, as in, like, when I went to see it, it had already been out for over a year, and perhaps we were going to see it maybe in October or something like that. I don't know. That's my mind, my memory. It could be wrong. Now, the film was made on a budget of $10.5 million. Now, when converting that into 2025 dollars, that's $34.7 million. That's not much money. I have a feeling if they were to make this movie today, it would be like the budget would be like $150 million. I think they did tremendous work with the budget they had, with the money they'd had. They allocated that money properly into creating this film. Now, this film was gigantic when it came out. At the time, this was 1982, 83. Remember, it had the longest theatrical run, so these numbers should be big, and they are. It made an incredible $797.3 million back then at the box office. When you convert that into 2025 dollars, whew, that is $2.6 billion dollars. Uh, Incredible. Um, at that time, certainly it made the most money of all time at the box office. And I think in today, when you convert all the dollars to anything, um, I think it still would be in maybe number four all time. There was Titanic, the Avatar movies, an Avengers movie. Maybe those would be bigger, but it's still way up the list. E.T. is on how much money it made. Incredibly, it was the number one film at the box office for 16 consecutive weeks. That is huge. That's like at least 4 months in a row. You're the number one film. Um, I remember we even had a stuffed animal of E.T. My cousin Steve gave it to me. I had the infamous E.T. Atari game. Uh, my love of that game came and went. Sometimes I hated it. It was a very frustrating game, and other times it wasn't. But yeah, I even had that game. I even have a record of E.T. John Williams did the score right here as well. Now, one thing I would say too, because it's very close to the DVD I have of it there. But as you see, there's E.T. his hand, and this right here is Elliot and his hand. They're touching. It's based on a painting done by, I think it was Michelangelo. And in turn, people think of E.T. as almost like a religious film, comparing E.T. to Jesus Christ. Where I don't think so. Like Spielberg even said, my mother is Jewish, and she would kill me if I did that. But I can see where you think it is, because like that was a religious painting, and you can see how that's a religious look, right? Where I think what that is it's just something's going to happen to change both of their lives forever. I think that's more what that image means. Well, personally, I find this film is similar to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is a great film as well with Richard Dreyfuss. But personally, I prefer E.T. I think it's better. I whatever. They're both great films that need to be seen. But I think even Spielberg said this is sort of like a sequel to Closer Encounters, or he thought while making Close Encounters, what happened if one of the aliens didn't get back in the ship or was left on Earth? So he came up with the idea for this film here. So the that's really what the story is about. E.T. is an alien. E.T. The Extra-Terrestrial is actually the full title of the film, but he is an extraterrestrial. He's on Earth. I'm pretty sure he's a botanist. He investigates plants. And even Spielberg said himself he thinks of ET as a plant himself. But when he and his people are on Earth, they leave, but he's left behind on Earth. Um, and now E.T. befriends a young boy named Elliot, played by Henry Thomas. Great performance. Um, he absolutely carries the film, Henry Thomas. Um, the ending, he really shows it where he's saying goodbye to E.T. Literally goodbye. And yeah, if you want to see me cry, just go ET for me, and I'll be a blubbering mess by the end of it. This movie still makes me cry. It's got that power over me. So he befriends Elliot, and it's interesting as well, and it's got to be on purpose. Elliot, E.T. Elliot starts with an E, ends with a T. They have this incredible magical even bond with each other, and it shows within their name as well as his initials. I don't think they ever say it in the film, but his last name is Taylor, Elliot Taylor, E.T. As well. So it's all on purpose. Now Elliot, he's also got an older brother, Michael, played by Robert McNaughton. Great performance, and a younger sister, Gertie. Um, Played by young Rue Barrymore. She's fantastic in this film. There's even points I think where she's ad-libbing or coming up with lines that were left in the film by Spielberg. She's great in this. And to let you know, what came out on film, it wasn't released on VHS until 1988. So there was years where you could not actually go out and rent this film. It led to this being the most pirated film out there. And then as well, Michael, the older brother, I think he's 16 because you see him drive or try and drive, which is quite funny. He meets E.T. They both meet him in the same scene. Gertie ends up screaming in his face, and E.T. screams back. But Michael, when he meets him, he's wearing a shirt, Space Invaders. That's cool. Very much on purpose to me. That was an Atari game that I had as well. One of my favorites for the Atari was Space Invaders. Now, Spielberg's parents got divorced back in 1960. So supposedly he created this imaginary friend, and that was supposedly E.T., this friend that he had created. Now, originally Spielberg was working on making the film with Columbia, who he made Close Encounters with. But they found incorrectly that the film would be really just for younger children. Um, and they weren't all for making it. They were wanting to, at the same time, they had the script to Starman. Um, Great film. Um, Definitely expecting to do a film review for that one as well. So, but Columbia was wanting to make Starman instead. So Spielberg went to Universal. They ended up buying the script from Columbia for $1 million. But within the deal, Columbia would retain only 5% of what the film made as well. Uh, Seeing what that movie made at the box office, that was huge. John Veith, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Then he was the president of Worldwide Production, said they made more money on that film, E.T., than any movie that they had made themselves in 1982. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, they made Tootsie in 1982, which had to have been a huge film. So, wow, big wow, and an incredible whoops on that one as well from Columbia. Um, Now, E.T. was designed by the Italian Carlo Rambaldi. Terrific work here in creating E.T. Now, the version I have of E.T., it's like the actual old version. It's because Spielberg went over it, I think in 2002 or 2007, and took things out and things were added. And I think ET was, there was like some uh, differences to ET, but this one, it's that original film. So there's a part where the government agents are actually carrying guns, but Spielberg went over the film and changed that and turned it into walkie-talkies. They still have guns in this. So it's the original ET, the one that I have there. No, in creating ET, there was a number of things I went through. Pictures of people, even like Albert Einstein, things like that. They'd combine all of these looks to create what you get in ET. Now, there were three actors that actually played um, in ET. There were people inside of the costume. There was Tamaro Ditro, Pat Billen, and a 12-year-old Matthew Demerit, who was actually born without legs. But they, in fact, play within the ET costume. And I think it was Demerit was the one that was walking around, or he was the one where when ET is like crushing beers and falls over, it was the 12-year-old inside ET. So that really makes it kind of funny. Now, the voice of ET was a number of things, or a number of people, including Pat Welsh, an elderly lady, chain smoking lady, I think, had the raspy, distinctive voice. Deborah Winger as well did some of the voices, and even Spielberg himself. So there was a number of people that added to that. And the sound of E.T. walking was supposedly a wet t-shirt filled with jello to get that sound. So that's pretty cool. Now, the score, I have it on record, is done by John Williams, and it is amazing. In fact, Williams won an Oscar for the score. And in total, Williams ended up winning five Oscars, including Jaws and Schindler's List. Schindler's List, sorry, a couple other films that must see as well. Um, and yes, um, great score, fantastic work done there. Now, also in the film as well, there's Dee Wallace, who was in The Howling. She's the mother, and I think this is her most famous role. Kind of like Henry Thomas, this is his most famous role. Um, and she's like known as E.T.'s mom, I think, by many people, as well as Peter Coyote and C. Thomas Howell, younger. I think he's only 14. He's one of the friends of Elliot's brother. He's in this film as well. Now, Coyote's character is very interesting as he's introduced like from the waist down, and you see him or you know him by the keys that he wears. And his name is never actually given in the film, so he's like in the credits, he's known as Keys, but that's not his name. Um, and the adult spaces are also not shown in the first half of the film, other than Dee Wallace. And I find that really cool. To me, I think of like Bugs Bunny or the Peanuts. I remember the teacher, wah, 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 like you never see the teacher. But supposedly this was inspired by Tex Avery. I'm actually not sure if I've ever seen any Tex Avery cartoons. If I have, it's been a very long time ago, and I'm not sure, but I think it's a terrific way of introducing these characters to children. In fact, is that method that Spielberg is using there. Excellent job. And things that I love in the film, I love the lighting used at the shed where Elliot first meets E.T. He's in the shed. The lighting there, it's spectacular to me. I love the scenes at the school. This is where E.T. is at home crushing the Coors, um, tin cans, maybe even at home. And in fact, then Elliot is getting drunk at school. that's the connection that they have. Anything one feels, the other feels as well. And Elliot's getting hammered, and then he gives the googly eyes to the pretty girl there. Um, what was her name? Um, but I think she was later in Baywatch. One thing, but um, it's a pretty awesome scene there, and I love the meeting of Yoda. There's a kid dressed up as Yoda. E.T. is out as a ghost, so there's a bed sheet on him. Mom thinks it's Gertie. It's not. It's E.T. And E.T. meets Yoda, and you can tell these two know each other. E.T. knows Yoda. Um, and it's funny because later in The Phantom Menace, the people that ET are, they're in a scene as well. Well, a meeting of all of the uh, living beings across the universe. They are in a scene as well. So it's kind of a nod back to Spielberg from Lucas there. And then there's a super iconic shot. It's even used for Amblin Pictures, which Spielberg owns, of Elliot and E.T. on a bike crossing over the moon in the background. Spectacular shot. And I kind of remember that as being the poster for E.T. Um, when I was a kid, or on originally on VHS. That's what it was. But anyways, and it's very sad seeing E.T. and Elliot dying. Very sad stuff. There was even a scene in the film that Harrison Ford was going to play. He was going to be the principal of Elliot after Elliot is caught being drunk in class. And he's what, like 10, 11, something like that? I don't know. But in the end, Spielberg decided to cut the scene. Um, and I'm not sure what I would have thought. I'm a huge Harrison Ford fan. I would have loved this as a kid, knowing that he was in this film as well. His wife ended up writing it, but um, that's interesting as well. Um, Now, at the same time, Spielberg was working on this. He was also working on Poltergeist, uh, directed by Tobe Hooper. Um, and some have even claimed, well, Spielberg's actually directing that film as well. But I definitely going to do a film review for that. That move I love. My wife is in love with Poltergeist. She loves it more than I do. Seen it on the big screen too. But at the same time, he was doing these two particular pictures, and you can't do that. You can only work on one at a time as a director. So he wasn't directing Poltergeist. Now, the TV show, I really like it. It references so many things, but Stranger Things, I think it's coming out the final season sometime this year. It borrows heavily from E.T., such as like the L character. She takes from E.T., um, and even them playing Dungeons and Dragons, which happens at the beginning of the E.T. as well. It's borrowed heavily from this film, and I guess Spielberg's okay with that. Um, what they did there. Now, when they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, I noticed this. I don't know who it is, but one of these kids is smoking because there's a cigarette burning in an ashtray. Her, the mother's nowhere near them. Somebody's smoking a butt at the table. That's pretty funny. Welcome to 1982, I guess. There you have it. As well in this film, when Elliot meets E.T., he is giving him Reese's Pieces. A candy that wasn't even for very long, maybe 2 or 3 years at this point, 4 years. After this film came up, their sales exploded 300% because of this film. So smart choice there by Reese putting their candy in this as well. And it was shot from September to December of 1981 as well. And there was actually an audio book as well, produced by Quincy Jones and narrated by Michael Jackson. Um, and was released November 15, 1982, exactly 2 weeks prior to the release of his biggest album of all time, and that it was Thriller. Um, I think Jackson even won an award for his narration. He is giddy doing it. It's a tremendous job there by Michael Jackson, and you could tell he was an E.T. fan. And I remember a picture of Michael Jackson like and E.T. like hanging out and stuff. Like I remember that. Very cool. I also remember a picture. I want to get it because it's very cool. It's with Gertie giving E.T. the flower that's throughout the entire film. Um, um, but she's giving it to him and she's kissing him on the nose. Ah, great picture there as well. And I must say, I am beyond happy they never ever made a sequel. They never should. Um, as Spielberg says, it would ruin the original, and yes, it absolutely would. It would tarnish the original film, um, and the whole ending of the film would be okay, but you're going to see him anyway. So what's the point of this whole scene? Like if you're going to meet up with ET again in a few years, you know? So I think that's phenomenal that they held off making a sequel when they could have made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars more if they did, but they did not. They did the smart thing. Now, this film, as I said, John Williams won for music, but this film was nominated for a number of Oscars. It was nominated for the Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, um, cinematography as well. It's amazing. It was done by Alan Davio, um, as well as film editing, Carol Littleton. Now, Alan Davio, he was now nominated for 5 Oscars. He also did The Color Purple, another Spielberg film, and Bugsy. I think that was from 1991. Um, and then Carol Littleton, she also, I've seen this film maybe 4 or 5 times. I just saw it maybe a couple months ago. Places in the Heart, great film. Sally Field, she worked on that one, and Silverado, Lawrence Kasdan Western. I haven't seen that one in forever. I need to see that one again. I really enjoyed it. But all of those films, incredibly, lost to one film, and that was Gandhi. I've never seen Gandhi, but all of them lost to Gandhi, but it did win for Best Sound. That would be Robert Knudsen. Um, he had been nominated 10 times. He also won for The Exorcist, Magnificent, and Cabaret, as well as Robert Glass. He was nominated 6 times, also for Close Encounters in 1941, another Spielberg film. I didn't like that one. I need to see it again. Maybe I'll like it. I haven't seen it since I was like 14. Um, but I think Knudsen worked on those films as well, with Glass. And as well, there was Don Girolamo, DiGirolamo. I hope I pronounced that right. He was nominated 3 times, also for Empire of the Sun, another Spielberg film, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I swear Spielberg produced that. That film, amazing film, and I think Knudsen worked on that one as well as Gene S. Cantamessa. He was nominated 7 times. Um, so yeah, that they won for best sound, those guys. It also won best effects or visual effects. So you have Carlo Rambaldi. He was nominated 3 times. He won 2 Oscars. He won for Alien, amazing work there. And King Kong back in 1976 or 77, he was nominated for that one as well. Dennis Murin, he won 6 Oscars. Uh, He was nominated 16 times. Whoa. But he won for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I gotta say that's my favorite indie film. I'm weird. And Jurassic Park. Both of those are Spielberg films. Like Spielberg knew who to work with, and that was a spectacular film as well as Jurassic Park. Made a number of sequels. Kenneth Smith, as well, was with the visual effects. He won two Oscars. The other one was for Inner Space. Love that film, and I swear Spielberg produced that one too. Um, it was great because of the effects and Martin Short. He is so funny in that. So yeah, they won for visual effects and it also won for effects editing. So they had Charles L. Campbell. He won three Oscars. The other ones were Back to the Future, spectacular, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Ben Burt. Uh, I know that name. He worked on Star Wars, but he won two Oscars. It wasn't for Star Wars. The other one he won was for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And then the last Oscar they won was for the music. So it won five Oscars and one, two, three, four, five. It was nominated for five others and sorry, it won four Oscars, I think. But all the Oscars it lost to was to Gandhi. So it's kind of incredible that that one film prevented them maybe from really doing a clean sweep at the Oscars. But there you have it. I love ET. I hope you do too. And that's the end of my science fiction films from 1982. Um, so soon I will get into doing the horror of 1982. There were some terrific horror films from this year. Can't wait to get to them and review those for you. So until next time, enjoy your movie watching.